Hi YouTube, Regina here. So today's video, I wanted to talk to you about mistakes. I've made a lot of financial mistakes. And I bring this, this came to my mind because I do think that there's sometimes we watch things on YouTube and I'm curious if we learn more from mistakes and what your viewpoint is on it. Do we learn more from mistakes that other people make than we do from the ones we ourselves make? I don't actually know the answer to this, but for me, I believe it's a bit of both. I think today I was told I was very practical by two people, and I don't know if I would have ever described myself as practical, but I think maybe I am without even realizing it. But I think that comes from the fact that I've made a lot of mistakes and I've learned from my own mistakes. Like, one thing about me is my mind works so much faster than my fingers and sometimes even faster than my mouth. And so sometimes I'll stop in mid sentence and I'll automatically just start talking about something else because my mind is just going so fast. And I've always been this way. I don't make any scripts for these videos, and if you watched a few of them, you probably noticed that I do this. And so it even happened because my mind is working so fast. So when I met my husband, I met him through my sister-in-law, and she and I were friends first, and we met when I moved to Brooklyn. And I went with her and a friend and her brother to a concert. So we went to a concert together, and they invited me to go along. And so that's how I met my husband. And he was going to go work at a summer camp, and he told me to go and visit him. And I don't do things like that. So that was it. We left it be. And I could tell he liked me and I liked him. And, we just had a really fun time at the concert. And after he came back from summer camp, I, um, they invited us to go to another concert. And we did. And again, the same thing happened. We kicked off the night and it was just so much fun. And him and I were just chatting the whole night. And at the very end of the night, he asked me for my number. But my mind, working so much faster, I actually mixed the numbers around. And, generally women used to do that when, you give out a wrong number. And so when they go to call you, you don't even realize, sorry, there's a lot of noise. You don't even realize that you gave out the wrong number. But my husband, being the way he happens to be really highly neurotic. And so, and by neurotic, I mean he'll repeat things twice. And so he's more careful and more deliberate than I am. Whereas I just roll with the punches. I'm quick, I'm agile on my feet, and I just go and go and go. So I'm like the Energizer Bunny. Anyway, because he's neurotic, he went over the number with me, and I caught the fact that I had given him the wrong number. And I mixed the numbers around. Again, I'm not sure how I did it, but when I wrote it down, my mind being faster than my fingers, I wrote the wrong number. And so it was meant to be that we ended up together because he was neurotic enough to double check my work. And I've been this way since I was a kid. I remember once walking out of the Regents and being very upset with myself because I handed in, my math Regents, and as I was handing in the paper, I realized I made a mistake in the word problem, and I read it too fast, and so I answered the question incorrectly for the way that I answered it. The rest of the test, I got everything right, but that one mistake of going too quickly cost me points on the test, and I ended up getting a 93 in my Regents as opposed to 100. And let me tell you, when it comes to math and numbers, I was good, and I deserved 100. And so to this day, the mistakes I make are based on the speed of which I move. and how quickly I am to go answer something. So my mind always tends to work faster than my fingers, and I'll go a little bit too fast on things. And so I say this is because there's some mistakes that you make that you cannot learn from, but there are others that you can. Or even if it has tried to teach me to slow down, I still can't help it. I am the way I am, and I'll continue to make mistakes from the speed of which my mind works. And so I'll say words wrong or funny, or they'll just come out, improper. But when it comes to financial mistakes and making mistakes that way, or mistakes that we see other people make based on things that they're doing, like for instance, if you see someone who hasn't saved enough for their retirement and you're seeing these stories on YouTube, it may end up making you change how you use your money. It may make you plan better. It may make you see things and say, geez, I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to live in my car when I'm older. And so you may course correct and start to do things because you realize and you're learning from the mistakes of others. Or you can make your own financial mistakes like I did. And I've made many, like moving into an apartment that was more than my paycheck. I mean, I earned $700 a month and I had an apartment that was $650. That was well above my means. And buying a car that was $399 a month, which I believe was the equivalent of like a, I'm trying to remember when I did that video. It was like an equivalent of a $900 and change payment today. And we're talking about someone who didn't make as much money. Oh, the kids in the background, you can hear them. Anyway, I learned from a lot of the mistakes I did, but I also think I learn from the mistakes of others. And so I'm curious what other people think. And so when I see people doing things that I myself can learn from and prepare better for, and just try to course correct before something even happens for me, I will do those things. And so I hope that you recognize mistakes that other people making, even if they themselves don't. Like maybe they didn't save enough for retirement, or maybe they're helping out their kids too much, or their parents too much, or they're just not saving. They're spending too much, or they're not saving for retirement, or they're just too risky with their investments, or they're buying too much of one thing, or they're investing in things they don't understand. You can course correct, you can learn from those mistakes. I mean, I think I shared before that I had invested in options, and actually not even 100% sure if I shared that example, and it changed my risk perspective on how I make sure that I don't do risky investments. So I learned from that mistake. But, and going back to that story, I had someone invest in options for me, a small amount of money, and I thought I knew them well enough that they wouldn't put all my money in a few options, and that's not what happened. So I thought they were going to be a little bit more careful, and they weren't. And I was okay with the idea of risking some money, but when they turned around and sold all other options before they became worthless for a lot less money, and then they piled all the money into one option, I ended up losing $120,000 in 1 month. And this is going back many years ago, and this started me getting very depressed and not going to the gym and not taking care with myself, and started the cycle of weight gain for me. It's because I started I realized the stupidity of what I had done in allowing someone else to invest for me and not learning about options myself instead. And even when they were investing in that one stock, I think, I don't know if I'm saying this company name, they invested in options for Galad or Gilad. I don't know how it is called. They made the drug Hervani, and I think Hervani was for hepatitis C. And it was 100, or hepatitis B maybe, and it was 100% cure rate. The problem was when the company did their expectations of what they were going to make the next quarter, they set it lower than what the market expected them to do. And so people started shorting the stock. And shorting the stock just basically means that you're betting the stock is going to go another way. And it ended up bringing the stock down. And so the stock started being sold off because people were shorting the stock. So anyway, what ended up happening is all the options I had, and I had call options, so that the calls expired worthless if the stock fell below $100, and the stock ended up falling below $100, and I lost all my options. And initially, when they had beat what they were supposed to, so they beat earnings. Earnings were better than expected, but they predicted lower. It had gone the other direction. So my hundred and my at the time my 120,000 was only worth somewhere in the 60s because of in the month things were sold off to buy more of this particular stock options, and boom, it was. They then predicted lower with expectations. Anyway, I learned from that, but I continue to make other mistakes with my investing, including probably taking a bit too much and, being not as risky because I cannot, the idea that I lost so much money in a short period of time really, affected my risk tolerance. And so, whether that's a mistake or not, I tend to be very much risk averse, and I don't care for like an immediate win. And so I definitely learned from that experience, but maybe I take it a little bit too safe. I mean, I was in my 40s at the time when this happened, and I'm now in my 50s, and it's over 10 years. And um, but the idea of losing that money, it affected a lot of other things for me. And so, yes, I learned from that mistake. But I honestly think, sometimes I believe, that while the mistakes we make can be painful, the mistakes that we watch other people make with regards to spending too much and not saving enough, and going into retirement and the retirement being difficult, I learned from those potentially more than I learned from my own mistakes. I sometimes trip and fall, still spill in my own words, still my mind works too quickly sometimes, and that even when I speak, I'll go a bit too fast. And my husband, no matter how much he tries not to be neurotic, he can't help it. And so I've learned to adapt. The things that you love about someone can sometimes drive you nuts. Like, for instance, after he parks a car, he'll have to walk around the car like 3 to 4 times, look inside the car and everything. And now I've learned to just drop me off at the door. I don't need to see him walking around, but he needs to be who he is and walk around the car 3 to 4 times. So you sometimes the things that you do that can drive you crazy, or the mistakes you make that you're trying to course correct, you just can't. And other times, the mistakes you see other people make. And I would hope that if anyone heard me talking about the options and how options completely destroyed, well, it wasn't my overall wealth. I mean, at the time we were already millionaires, but the it wasn't a big percentage, but it was a lot of money. I mean, to earn that kind of money at the time, I wasn't making $100,000 a year, and so to lose 120,000, 120 something thousand in a month was devastating to me. And so I would hope that maybe hearing my story, somebody would be more cautious and not make that same mistake that I did, to try to put too many eggs in one basket, because options can make a lot of money if everything goes the right way, but there's so many nuances to it. And so I would hope somebody would learn the lesson from the mistake that I made, the same way as I learn lessons from other people's mistakes. Anyway, just some of my thoughts on it, on whether or not, what's your thoughts? Do you learn from other people's mistakes? Do you learn more so from your own? For me, I think watching other people spend too much, or buy too much home, or just not investing enough for retirement, or making decisions too quickly, have stopped me from making mistakes. So I do think I've learned from other people's mistakes, and my own mistakes I could potentially repeat because sometimes it's very difficult to change who you are as a person. But learning from other people's mistakes, maybe, maybe that you can do because maybe you're not emotionally involved in it. Maybe that's it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. And I'm over by the west side again, and I think I'm holding the camera down at a different angle. Hopefully, this film's better, but it's a little bit easier for me to hold it this way. Anyway, I hope everyone is having a great day, and thank you for everyone who comments, subscribes, and hits the thumbs up and sends me likes because that really does help the YouTube algorithm. I don't think as many people are watching, and I don't know if it's YouTube is not suggesting my videos out to a lot of people, and for one video they may, for the next video they don't, and I know for myself when I look at a channel's videos, I like seeing I don't like to look too far, so I have not put my videos, I haven't been doing any kind of editing, but I haven't been putting my videos into like chapters or whatever they call that, because I figure if somebody wants to review the library of the videos that I've done, they can actually see the complete catalog and just scroll and find a topic that they might find interesting to them. So that's why I've done it the way I've done it. And but if you could hit like and subscribe if you like the video. If you don't like the video, then don't. And that would be super helpful because maybe it'll find its way to someone else that it can truly help. You know, putting myself out there, sharing my story, and as well as talking about topics that maybe are real practical to me because I personally love personal finance and I read about it and I'll research everything about it. And so, probably in my next life, after the career ends, I might become a certified, financial advisor. Not so that I can go make more money or do anything like that, just so that I can know everything that I can, the same way as I did when I learned to become a personal trainer. I like learning and doing those kind of things, and so it's an interesting topic for me, and so maybe I may come across as practical, which is really a nice compliment, but it really is because I really do research, like, and read and know as much as I can about personal finance. Anyway, hope this finds you well, and signing off again, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.